Hi, this is Dr. Matar. Today we're going to talk about why I took my husband off keto. I had a lady who was on the plan a while back, many years ago, and she was doing really well. I put her on a whole plant-based diet, which was not something that she had been used to, but eventually she loved it. She loved the results. She was organized to make the food herself, and she was doing really well. She was about 2 months into the plan. At the same time, her husband was a few years older than her, had started on the keto diet. The keto diet was just starting to become known he became interested. He put himself on it, and he actually started to lose weight at the same time. He lost probably more weight. Normally, men lose more weight more quickly than women. But for his weight, he made the same kind of progress as she was making for her weight. Then she attended a lecture where I talked about fat and the reason why fat is not really healthy and so forth. And she became concerned. So she brought her husband over to see me. And he was so much into believing keto. He did it very successfully. He felt there was no reason for him to learn about anything else because it was working for him. So I granted him that. I said, okay, no problem. Let me tell you more about keto. And that was before we really had enough time to study keto because it was not really that popular at that time. I told him keto, in my opinion, is a fad diet. It doesn't mean it doesn't work, because a lot of diets do work and a lot of diets come and go, but almost all diets work if you follow the plans. The problem with keto, though, is it works for the younger generation. And here at our office, we deal with people who are 50 plus, mostly 55 to 65 and older. So consuming a lot of fat, especially animal fat, is not really healthy for this population. It's probably not healthy for any population, but particularly for this population, especially when they have chronic disease. The effectiveness of keto would be appreciated for the first a couple of months. In some studies, it shows about 45 days into having a high-fat intake, you may be doing actually okay, and your brain functions may be better, your clarity and focus and so forth. So that's a good thing. But these studies also indicate that 90 days into it, those good effects would diminish. Beyond that, the diminishing effect of keto on the body, what happens normally at that point is people start developing constipation, and they develop bad breath, and they also develop some kind of lessening in their skin quality. If you look at somebody who's on keto, you look at the same person, say, before they got onto keto, look at their skin quality. And if you look at people, population that is on keto, and another population that is on a whole food, plant-based, vegan diet, you'll notice that the skin in the plant-based group is actually glowing. It's much younger looking. And in the population where keto is consumed, you'll notice that the same population is very different skin quality-wise between present time and a few years earlier. So, and that's concerning to a lot of people. Constipation alone is a problem. That's why on keto, they recommend that you take fiber so you can sort of mechanically force a bowel movement. And as far as the bad breath, they tell you that you need to eat a lot of vegetables. This is where the modified keto came into play. Keto alone does not work for the long term. Keto alone does not cure diabetes, although if you're diabetic and you get yourself on keto, what happens to your blood sugar level? It drops. It goes into normal because you're not eating anything that can cause blood sugar to go up. Your body's need for sugar is maintained or supplied by a process called gluco, which means sugar, neogenesis, the recreation or creation of sugar from other compounds and molecules in the body. So the body gets the amount of sugar it needs. It's not getting any carbs to almost at all, and therefore you don't have high blood sugar in your blood. However, because one reason why people develop diabetes is high intake of fat, because when you have high intake of fat, your muscle cells will have little droplets of fat called intra, which means inside, muscular or muscle cell fat. So the fact that you have these droplets of fat inside of your muscle cells make it very difficult for the body, for insulin to actually work. Because if you have a lot of fat in the muscle cells, that means you have a lot of potential energy in the muscle cells, and those cells develop this resistance to insulin, which has the job of getting even more energy into your muscle cells in the form of sugar. So the body becomes resistant. Those muscle cells become resistant to the effect of insulin. What happens in keto is you feel that you're cured from diabetes, but the moment you start eating carbohydrates, even the healthiest carbs, your blood sugar level can shoot up significantly, because the condition of diabetes is not cured. In fact, it is masked completely, and it's made to be worse. It is worse. So there's no real improvement that, or long-term improvement that you can expect from keto, as opposed to whole plant-based. The other thing that one should know is studies have shown for many, many years, over and over again, that if you eat a meal that has high fat content, even if the fat was from a very healthy plant-based, such as, say, avocado or olive oil, what happens is a couple of things happen inside of the blood vessels in the body. Number one, you have a condition called endothelial dysfunction, where the endothelium, which is the single-celled layer that lining the blood vessels, becomes defective. And that situation is a common denominator of all chronic disease, including diabetes and hypertension, high cholesterol, obesity, and so forth. And also, it is a common denominator in conditions such as heart disease, leading to heart attacks and strokes. The other phenomenon that happens when you eat a meal, a single meal, that is high in fat, is stiffening in the arteries. So not only is the lining affected very severely, it is also the rest of the arterial wall that gets affected by this. So there is really nothing good about this. That's why when keto started, it was about fat, 70% fat, 20% protein, and whatever is left is carbohydrates. But eventually they had to incorporate different things with it to make it work, because it cannot work forever. It works for a short period of time. Number one, they introduced intermittent fasting to it, and keto and intermittent fasting became the same thing. If you want to do this and be successful, you have to also do that, which is not the case, by the way, for whole plant-based diets. The other thing that they came up with was you have to have a lot of vegetables. A lot of vegetables. Because if you don't do that, you cannot counter the bad effects of the inflammatory processes that happen because of the fat intake. So they take keto the way it was established and they start modifying it to make it look better, to make it healthier. But the essence of it, which is 70% fat, is the core of the problem. And one way to reduce the bad effects of it is to really base your meals on a ton of vegetables. A ton of vegetables. Okay? And then they modified it further by saying, don't focus on the animal fat. It's high in saturated fat and other fats and so forth. It may be bad for you. Also focus on healthy plant-based fats like olive oil and avocado and things of that nature, nuts and seeds and things like that. So they take something, they make it popular through marketing, and they modify it so it continues to exist. But nevertheless, it is a fad diet. Okay? So that person was, the husband of that lady was not really that convinced, despite all of these explanations. And while he was on keto, I think 3, 4, 5 months later, he had a heart attack. It was near fatal. Okay, he survived. Then his wife reminded him of what I told him, and he said, "Okay, I'm willing to do that." And in fact, he did that. Not only did he recover very quickly because of that, because of being on the whole plant-based diet, he also reversed the conditions in his blood vessels that caused the heart attack in the first place. So with time, this guy became very healthy, very healthy. He became athletic. He lost the weight. You wouldn't recognize the guy. And his skin quality changed dramatically. So he was able to save his life inside out. I hope this helps. Take care. Hi, this is Dr. Matar again. If you like the video, please give it a like and subscribe so you can get the future videos. If you're new to the channel, what I do here is I discuss cases of my most successful patients who struggled with diet and exercise, yet were able to achieve at the end of their programs a well, fit, and slim life. I want the same for you, so if you have any questions or comments, please send them my way. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you.